Thank you for being here. This is humbling, to say the very least. You all came here to witness the changing of an administration. This is what we do at times like this. And yet you're also here, and so many of you were the catalysts behind the fact that you're here to witness a fresh start for Kentucky as well. I want to start by saying thank you. There are so many people that we could thank. I want to thank the men and women that are responsible for the scaffolding that we sit on, who have worked tirelessly to set this up, for the men and women who have hung the bunting on this building, the men and women who have created these beautiful renditions of our state motto, the men and women who have painted the things on which we stand, the men and women who erected these tents in these screens, in these towers of microphones and of speakers, the men and women who are represented out here who have finally, perhaps for a moment, gotten a break, and yet even now there are those that are providing security. The men and women who have cut the grass, the men and women who, when we are gone and the party is over, will come in and break all these things down. Thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you. I want to thank the men and women who have been so integrally involved in this transition team. To Mac Brown for spearheading that effort, for all the hundreds who have been involved. It is a Herculean effort, and yet so many have stepped up and have done so with such incredible skill and passion and commitment. And we are all the beneficiaries for that. I want to thank those that were on the Inaugural Committee. I want to thank Kelly Knight and Joe Kraft and all of the many others who have poured themselves into everything we see around us. Extraordinary. Let's give a round of applause to those who made this event so special. I especially want to thank whoever was in charge for 60 degrees on a December 8th. And those of you in the front and those on this stage don't appreciate it, but those of you that are sitting back in the sun, you know it's 60 degrees over there. So I tell you, we are blessed indeed. I want to thank my wife, Glenna Bevin. She is an amazing woman. She will be an incredible First Lady. She truly brought tears to my eyes. I remember the first time I saw her as well, and I was a 24-year-old man, and I was somewhat taken by what I saw. And she is still the most beautiful woman I know. She has an amazing heart. She's intelligent. She's articulate. She is so gifted beyond her own belief in herself. She's an extraordinary mother. She is somebody who is an example to me time and time again. And I am just so grateful to you, and I look forward to serving this Commonwealth with you. I really do. I also want to thank other family members of mine that are here. I won't call them out by name or we would extend this beyond what any of you would have patience for. My parents are here. My children are here. My brothers and sisters are here. My nieces and nephews are here. I do, however, want to single out one individual, and I'm not sure where she's sitting at the moment. But in 1914, this building over here to my right and your left was built, the Governor's Mansion, a beautiful building. It has stood the stand of time since 1914. And in that very same year, my grandmother, who is here somewhere, was born. And my grandmother is 101 years old, and she too has stood the stands of time, the tests of time. And it is a privilege to have her and my entire family here today. I want to thank Janine Hampton. What an extraordinary woman she is. You got a glimpse of that. You heard her heart. She is somebody who is exceptional. She's extraordinary. She's a historical groundbreaker. She will represent this state with incredible passion, with incredible commitment. Her intellect, her love of liberty, her love of America, her love of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and for all that makes us great and good. This is what I look forward to. She is a dear friend and somebody who I tip my hat to and look forward to serving with. Thank you, Janine. Truly. Thank you. I want to thank Governor Beshear and all those who are in this outgoing administration. I want to thank you for the service that has been rendered to this state. It's so easy for us to take for granted in America how unusual it is, how extraordinary it is that we can have a peaceful transfer of power, not once, not twice, not occasionally, but time and time and time again. Let us not forget how extraordinary that is, how blessed we are to live in a nation where that is possible. And my hat's off to those who have served before us in this administration. I thank you, sir. It is possible because of the very men and women who have been acknowledged today, who were acknowledged in our parade, who have been acknowledged from this stage. But one more time, I do want to say thank you to the men and women who have served this nation in uniform. Thank you to the men and women, 1.5 million of whom have given their lives in combat, who have died in uniform, so that we might freely assemble, so that we might gather here, so that we might speak freely, that we might worship freely, that we might have freedom of the press, so that we might have the very things that so few in the history of the world have ever had even a glimpse of. Let us not take these things for granted, because as was sung, and as has been stated, and as we know when we take the time to think about it, freedom is not free. It has been purchased at a great price. And we thank those of you who have paid that price, and to your families as well. I have had occasion over the course of the last 2 years to drive 95,000 miles around the Commonwealth of Kentucky. That's a lot of miles in one state. And I've had occasion during the course of driving 95,000 miles around Kentucky to see the obvious places, the Louisvilles, the Lexingtons, the Frankforts, the Covingtons, Paducahs, the Owensboroughs, the Pikevilles, the Ashlands, the fill-in-the-blanks. I know if I don't stop now, I'm going to just offend more people. So I will say this. Those are the big ones. Those are the obvious ones. We know about those towns. But I've also had occasion to visit some of the towns like Summer Shade and Thousand Sticks and Possum Trot and Pig. That's literally the name of the town, Pig. Rabbit Hatch and others, some of which dwarf. And there's a lot of them. And I'll tell you, we're blessed. This is an extraordinary state. You think about it. You come from all corners of this state. And I thank those of you who have done so. You come from the corners of this state and you appreciate not only that which is distinct to your area, but that which makes us great. The riverways and the roadways that we have like nowhere else. The geographic location we have like nowhere else. The fact that we are blessed with an abundance of water, an abundance of coal, an abundance of timber, things that are the envy of other states and of other nations around the world. We have an abundance of resources. We have a wonderful blend of Southern graciousness and hospitality melded with Midwestern sensibilities, all smack dab in the middle of the greatest nation on the face of this earth. We are blessed in Kentucky. We truly are. This is also a state where you can, in the course of a couple hours, travel from Boston to California. And if you add an extra 30 minutes, you can swing through London and Paris, probably, on your way in doing so. So we are blessed in many respects. There's a big difference, though, between campaigning and governing. During the course of a campaign, you spend a whole lot of time talking about that which differentiates you from others. And while I did get a little bit of grief from some along the way for trying to focus less on the differentiation and more on that which unites us, nonetheless, even as I ran, both in a primary and a general, you talk about the differences. My challenge to you now, as Kentuckians, as your governor, my challenge to each and every one of you is to focus on that which unites us. Look at this seal that is in front of me. Look at this seal that is behind us. Look at this seal that is on every one of our state flags, our state motto. United we stand, divided we fall. Do you believe that? Do you believe it? Do you believe that this is true? I want to ask each and every one of you, say this with me. United we stand, divided we fall. One more time. Say it like you mean it. United we stand, divided we fall. How true it is. The power to stand united is within each and every one of us. This is our Kentucky. This is our opportunity. This is our ability to become the greatest version of ourselves that we could possibly be. But it is going to come from each and every one of you. It is going to be intentional. We have challenges ahead. True enough. I could run through a whole litany of things. A few of them you know. We're 46th in per capita income, but I will tell you, Kentucky is better than that. We're 47th in workforce participation, but I'll tell you, Kentucky is better than that. We have the highest level of unfunded pension liability in America, but Kentucky is better than that. We are better than that. Tragically, we have the 7th highest number of young people who overdose on drugs in this state, in absolute numbers, even though we're not a large state. But Kentucky is better than that. We are a state that has 1 out of every 4 individuals on Medicaid, but Kentucky is better than that. There are many things I could run through, but I will tell you right now, we know what they are, we experience them, we feel them, we know what they are, but we know we are better than that. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, if indeed we are better than that, how is it that we are going to become the greatest version of who we are? How will we move from where we are to some greater version still as we move into the future? I've been asked many times on this campaign trail why I would want to be governor of the state of Kentucky. Why would I want to step forward to lead the Commonwealth? And what I said from the first time I've been asked, and every other time as well, is that it isn't so much a function of what I want, but rather that I am willing. I am willing to step forward. I am willing to lead this Commonwealth. And there are those that have gathered to prepare what we are experiencing right now. Those who have stepped forward to serve this nation in uniform. Those of you who even now are standing guard on our flank as armed officers, people who are protecting and serving even now. These are people who also have been willing. In order to be the best version of ourselves, it will require us to give. It requires those of us to step up, to be willing to step beyond our comfort zone, protect those around us by giving, by sacrificing. Our founding fathers talked about giving their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honors. They talked about pledging these things, but each and every one of them gave some or all of these things. When they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honors, this was not a bumper sticker. They weren't trying to win an election. They meant it. Every one of them meant it. They gave some or all of these things. We say we want a better Kentucky. We say we want a better America. My challenge to each and every one of you, how badly do you want it? How badly do you want it? Because if you don't want it enough to give some modicum of sacrifice, something from yourself, that even remotely compares to that which those that have preceded us have given, those veterans that we have honored, those fallen heroes that have fallen in the line of serving, those police officers, those first-line responders, those firemen, those EMS, folks that are representing us. If we are not willing to give like them, we will not have a better Kentucky. We will not have a better America, and frankly, we won't deserve it. We won't. But we have it within us to be better than this. We do. And my challenge to you is to recognize that the choices that we make today will affect our lives for generations to come. Why should we be willing? Look around you. I have to look only to my left, and I see 9 compelling reasons for me to be willing to give. Look around yourselves. There are children in every row. Some of you, I'll allow you to decide which is the child. But there are children among us. This is why we are doing this. We have an obligation. We have a responsibility. But frankly, this is the very thing that is unique about America. is that we have always been willing to peacefully transfer and sacrifice as if it wasn't going to be transferred peacefully. I want to take a moment to challenge each and every one of you, to challenge all Kentuckians everywhere. In 2016 and beyond, I want you to focus on living out the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. It's not that complicated. I encourage you, please, extend a hand. Even when you leave here, simple things like, if you brought garbage in with you, take it out. I know that someone else is going to be paid to pick up behind you, but whether it's here or at a state park or just on the sidewalk, treat our Commonwealth with the pride that you take in your new automobile or your new television set or your own living room. We owe this to one another. We are all Kentuckians. This is our Commonwealth. Help a neighbor. Make a point of befriending someone who's in a different political party than yourself and you don't agree on anything. Find something you agree on. Find a way to unite with them, because united we stand and divided we fall. It's as true as that. It really is. And my challenge is to you to take that seriously. When I received the nomination back in May, I asked during the acceptance speech if any of you recognized, as I did, that this was morning in Kentucky. I truly believe it is. But I issued a challenge to you at that time, and I asked you, as Kentuckians, that if indeed this is morning in Kentucky, I asked, were you willing to get up? Were you willing to wake up, to get out of bed, to put your boots on and get about the business of the day? And you answered that challenge. You responded overwhelmingly on November the 3rd when you went to the ballot box and you spoke with a loud and a clear voice that you are ready to get up, that you are ready for a fresh start, that you are ready to get about the day in this new day that is dawning in Kentucky. And my hat is off to you for that. I was struck by something shortly after this election in November. A couple days later, I was in Hazard, Kentucky, in Perry County. I went to see a private sector employer. It was an individual who employs a number of people in that community. I had met him during the course of the campaign. And as we were walking out to the truck after I had met with him and a number of his employees, he said to me, but almost half to himself and half to me, he said, "You know, you're the first one that has ever come back." I was struck by that. And I mention that to you only to challenge you. Let us be the state that is comprised of citizens who at every turn, whether we are elected to serve you or whether you are citizens in the ranks of your community, your churches, your schools, your whatever the case might be, within your very own family, be the ones who go back. Let us be the ones who go back. This will differentiate us. This will make us the greatest version of ourselves that we could possibly be. Let us be known as the Commonwealth of Kentucky, where people go the extra mile, not only for one another, but for strangers who come through, for businesses who would come here. Let us be the ones who go back. This is my challenge to you in 2016. This is what I will do my best to exemplify and model for you as your governor. But this is within the power of every single one of us. Because while it may seem small, the ripple effect of small things is extraordinary. You think about it. It would be extraordinary. I don't want to spend a bunch of time talking about policy. Although I know if I don't say something about policy, I'll disappoint all these people that are standing over here on the risers. And so I'm going to say a couple things. I will simply say this. When we announced our candidacy back 10, 11 months ago, 2 weeks, I guess it was, after I first filed to run for governor, I put out what I called a blueprint for a better Kentucky. And that blueprint was comprised of a number of things. And we talked about those things on the campaign trail. And in the course of talking about those things, there were always the questions, well, are they just saying that to, get votes or not? I think didn't take people long to realize most of what I was saying was clearly not being said to curry favor, because it was actually not well received, at least by those on the risers, although clearly you all had a difference of opinion, and my hat is off to you for that. And it isn't that we don't love those on the risers, because we do. They were just very wrong because they didn't know what you all were thinking about. But here's the reality, and that's okay. But there were those who thought, well, maybe you're just saying this, and maybe you're just saying that. We talked about auditing the pension plans, and I will tell you, we are going to audit every single pension plan in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We talked about changing our retirement plans, the pension plans themselves, to ensure that we save them so that we honor the commitment to our retirees and our current employees, and we are going to do that. Because to do anything less than that is a disservice to those not yet employed, those currently employed, and those who are retired. We will ensure that none of them get any of the promises made if we don't make hard decisions. And we will make those hard decisions, and we will save our pension plans for those who have earned them. We talked about streamlining government. We've already begun, and it will continue. Stay tuned. We are going to do it within each cabinet. I am blessed by the caliber of men and women who have stepped forward. It is unbelievable the depth of talent we have in our cabinet, and I'm grateful. I'm humbled. I've always said I want to be the weakest link in the chain. So far, so good. I can tell you that right now. Starting with my Lieutenant Governor, Janine Hampton. Really and truly, I am the weakest link in the chain, and I'm grateful to be. We've got amazing individuals who are going to work on your behalf. We talked about modernizing and simplifying our tax code. Time will tell exactly the specifics of that, and we'll be rolling out a budget here in just a matter of less than 2 months. But we are going to modernize and simplify our tax code. We are going to get rid of the inventory tax in this state. We are going to get rid of the death tax in this state. We're going to get rid of the very things that, frankly, send the message to the outside world that we're not serious about being a business-friendly state. We're going to break those things down, and we're going to turn this state into the type of a place that people not only want to come to, but they want to stay. We are already, we could be much greater indeed. We talked about fighting federal overreach. I mean, you've heard it 1,000 times, and we'll talk about it more, but there is not going to be a day in our administration where we allow the tail of a regulatory agency in Washington, D.C. to wag the dog of Kentucky. I will tell you that right now. Without giving you a long diatribe, the 10th Amendment is a very specific and powerful amendment. It says those established powers that are not specifically given to the federal government are the responsibility of the states and of the people, and we are going to exercise that sovereignty, exercise that authority, and we are going to stand on our rights, and we're going to do what is correct and best for the people of Kentucky. That's what we're going to do. We talked about health care. We talked about the fact that we are going to transition in 2016 people from the state level exchange. We're going to transfer them to the federal level exchange like 38 other states are now doing, and we are going to shut that redundant program down. This is what we are going to do next year. And as it relates to our Medicaid population, which is very, very high, as you know, more than 25% of those in our state and growing, that is not there because there is not need. There is tremendous need. We know that. We need to be those who address this in a thoughtful, intelligent way. We are going, it's truly a privilege to me to have Governor Pence here with us today. And I'll tell you, I don't know where you went, Governor. Here you are. This is a model that we are going to copy. I am not above copying what other people are doing well. And there are great things being done on how to take care of those on Medicaid in the state of Indiana. We can learn from them. We will learn from them. And I attempt to copy the best parts of what they're doing and avoid any mistakes they might have made thus far. This is what we're going to do. And I'll tell you, we will be better for it. And our people will be better for it. And we will provide true access to people to the healthcare system and not just lip service. Having a Medicaid card is of no value if you don't have a doctor that will see you. Let's be honest about it. And if it comes at a price we can't afford, what have we done except lie to people? We're better than that. Kentucky is better than that. We talked about school choice. This is one of 7 states where there is no competition, absolutely no competition for public education dollars. That is going to end. We are not doing as well as we could be. And let me say this. As I came up Capitol Avenue, the most enthusiastic group of people I saw, and they were awesome, and I had more fun with them, nothing on the rest of you, than any of the rest of you, was a group of kids that were public school students, and they had signs, and they were proud of the fact that they were, and they ought to be, because we've got great public schools here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We truly do. And we've got great teachers, and we've got great administrators, and we have great superintendents and principals, and people who have a passion for seeing young people become the best versions of themselves. And we are going to unleash that power, because there is nothing that does so like competition. Competition is good. It is healthy. Iron sharpens iron. And we are going to remove the bureaucracy that comes from the suffocation of regulations and things that are detrimental to actually creating the educational environment that we want. And we'll start with public charter schools. We'll start with public schools taught by public school teachers with public school students like those I met attending them. But we are going to start to bring school choice to the state of Kentucky, and we will let the momentum carry forward, because we owe nothing less to our young people. We talked about prioritizing our discretionary funding, and all I'll say briefly is the fact that we cannot become the best version of ourselves if we don't focus on 2 things. We must focus on education, and we must focus on infrastructure. No state can become a better version of itself or better relative to those states around them if they do not focus on education and infrastructure. And with the limited dollars that we have, that's exactly what we're going to do. I will say this. It is also time, while this wasn't in the blueprint, for us to truly change our tenor, the discourse with which we conduct ourselves politically. I said this from the stage at Fancy Farm. And ironically, because I didn't choose to attack people at Fancy Farm as those others who were there felt was their right and prerogative and requirement to do, I was then attacked, interestingly, for not attacking. Let me tell you, Kentucky is better than that, too. Kentucky is better than that. Let us treat one another with respect. Let us treat one another with the kind of cordiality that we would want to be treated, just as we said a moment ago. Kentucky is better than that. Let's change the discourse. Let us treat one another in a way that rises above partisanship, because Kentucky is better than that. I pray for 2 things for my children. I pray this repeatedly. I pray that with them, and I pray this for them when I'm not with them. And it's the very things that I pray for each and every one of you that are assembled here, the very things that I pray for our Commonwealth as a whole. I pray that my children will have the wisdom of Solomon, that they will have the wisdom to know the difference between what is right and what is wrong. Because we live in a mixed up world, we are sending crazy messages to young people in particular that good is bad and in is out and right is wrong and up is down. And we're confusing them. And I pray that my children and that your children will know the difference between what is right and what is wrong. But the second thing that I pray for them is that in addition to knowing the right thing to do, and this is my prayer for each and every one of you as well, that you will also have and that they will have the courage to do the right thing. Because knowing the right thing is not always as difficult as doing the right thing. And it is my prayer for each and every one of you that you will know what is right and that you will do what is right. Courage comes in many forms. Courage for many of you came in the form of you going into the ballot box on November the 3rd. I met a gentleman down here at the bottom of the hill who told me he was a military veteran. The first time he has ever voted in his life, and he was probably 50-some years old, was in this past election. I appreciate his courage in telling me that. I appreciated his courage in exercising the right that he risked his life for. He was a veteran. These are the kind of things that I applaud you for, I'm grateful for. But it is that courage that was exercised at the ballot box. And when I look at that, when I see 106 out of 120 counties, we could interpret that a whole lot of ways. And we could feel good about that. And we could feel extra special about ourselves as if somehow we had the right message. And arguably the message did resonate with you. But I'll tell you what I see when I see that electoral map. I see a cry for help. That's what I see. And I want you to know that I hear that cry for help from every corner of this great Commonwealth. I'm listening. Our ears will be open. Our doors will be open. This is your house. This is your Commonwealth. Today, December 8th, 2015, we begin a fresh start together as one Kentucky. Black, white, rural, urban, Democrat, Republican, independent, people who come from both ends of the socioeconomic spectrum, male, female, young and old alike. This is our Kentucky. This is our time. This is our opportunity. Together we will accomplish great things. Together we will serve as a beacon to our fellow Kentuckians, to those who are here assembled and those that we will cross paths with as we leave this place. And we will serve as a beacon to the rest of our nation and to the rest of our world as well. And we will do this because we are Kentucky and because we are better than that. Thank you. I thank you for coming here today. I thank you for being assembled here, for being willing to take this challenge and run with it. I ask that you will take this away, that you